Okay, hello. So basically, I don't usually record these things before the video, but first of all, I might actually just start doing that anyway. But second of all, you would have seen the title about how the Night Terrors experience was so bad for me. And I think I just need to give important context before the video begins about why exactly my Night Terrors experience was so bad. But before I just say that, I need to very quickly say, if I don't go into a lot of detail or I miss out on things, it's because I spent so much time recording this intro and then the file got corrupted, so I lost the recording and I'd spent so much time on it and I'd literally gone into so much detail with that. So I'm not going to go into that much detail with this recording, but I still think it's very important. I'm just going to say a few things about why my Night Terrors completion was the worst thing that has ever happened to me during Geometry Dash. Okay, first of all, it's important to note, I wasn't even originally going to play Night Terrors. I had actually planned to play a level called Sacred Battle, which is apparently the most fun Insane Demon in the game. And I was going to play that after Poltergeist as my second Insane Demon. But I just, after playing it for a bit, felt like it didn't really improve my skills in any way. So I sort of decided that Sacred Battle wasn't really the level for me to play as a second Insane Demon. So I looked for another level that I wanted to play as a second Insane Demon. And I remembered one time that someone had joined my stream one time. By the way, Master AquaGD on Twitch. Someone had joined my stream one time and said that they were playing a level called Night Terrors. And I had done a practice run of it and thought that it was quite fun and looked incredibly hard. And at the time, I thought that level looked near impossible hard. And so, after I decided to drop Sacred Battle, I remembered Night Terrors, and I thought, you know what? I had thought that level looked fun, and I also thought it was impossible at the time. Why don't I try and beat it as a challenge to prove that I can do it? And I did a few practice runs and started learning it, and I actually had a lot of fun learning it. And so I decided to fully commit and play Night Terrors as a second Insane Demon. And everything was going well. I had a good time playing from start positions. I enjoyed playing it, practicing it, until I started playing from zero, when I had fully learnt the level. Now the thing is, something that you need to understand about Night Terrors is that it is, and I can't explain why, so much easier from start positions than it is from zero. And the main reason is, in my opinion, because of 4 choke points. And these 4 choke points don't just make it harder from zero, they are the reason that this was the worst experience I've ever had in my entire time of playing Geometry Dash. At first, playing from zero was fine. I didn't really like the pre-drop, and I still don't. It's quite boring, very slow, and quite timing-based, and at first I found it very hard to get consistent at and started to hate the pre-drop, but I did actually end up getting consistent on the pre-drop. But I soon discovered the thing that actually ruined Night Terrors, and it wasn't the pre-drop. It was, in my opinion, the main choke point that is at 15%, starting with a blind click that is just so bad and I think is a frame perfect, going all the way to 27%. That whole percentage chunk right there is the worst part of gameplay I have ever played in any level in my entire life. It is literally bugged with 2.2. So hard, so timing carried, it's luck-based, RNG, it's so bad. But I soon realised that that wasn't the only choke point, because there are 3 other choke points at 52%, an upside down spam part that is just so inconsistent and buggy, another choke point at 5, which is like an upside down ship part that goes into a really hard wave part that's upside down and it's just so inconsistent and buggy, and a part at 79% where you have to go through a straight fly and there's an awful upside down ship transition in the mini mode and it's just so bad. It is awful. And the thing is, these choke points, every single one, ruined my experience of Night Terrors so much. And I think the other thing that ruined my experience of Night Terrors is that I actually at first was doing alright. I was dying a lot to the choke points, especially the first one, and I was basically hating the level. But then something happened. My best was 58%, and I did my biggest fluke ever in Geometry Dash, and then died my worst ever death in Geometry Dash to 93%. And here's that run. But again, thank you so much you could be here, because obviously don't know what, I mean, I guess you would, but I guess what I meant was are you going to get a new headset soon, is what I meant more. Because obviously you're going to get a new headset, but like, are you going to get a new headset soon? Don't react too soon. Ah! I actually don't care. That is the worst fail I've ever had. Now the reason that 93% death is my worst ever death in Geometry Dash is because the ending, especially 93%, is, and I don't like to call any part of gameplay ever free, but that ending gameplay of Night Terrors is 5-star gameplay. Like, it is genuinely the freest piece of gameplay I have ever played in a long time, and I don't like saying that, but it is just so easy. And I made the mistake. It's like an unwritten rule of Geometry Dash: never celebrate too soon. But I made that mistake and celebrated too soon and got instant karma for it, which I regret to this day, and I have learnt my lesson. But at the time I thought that 93% death was awful. But the thing is, that 93% death ruined my experience of Night Terrors even more maybe than anything else, because getting that 93% run made me think, you know what, I'm so close to beating this, it doesn't even matter, I'll beat it in a few minutes anyway. And so my expectations of how long it would take me to beat Night Terrors instantly dropped. And then I could never get back there. Like, genuinely, every single day, I would get on Night Terrors, play Night Terrors, die to the awful choke points over and over again, and just not get close to 93%, even though the whole time I was thinking, okay, I'm surely close to beating it. And that just ruined my motivation and made me hate Night Terrors. And so, a week later, I was streaming, and again, of course, dying over and over again to the choke point, but getting further, and I was actually getting more consistent at the first choke point and the second choke point. The upside down ship and wave transition, like, the upside down ship and wave part is just an awful part of gameplay, but it is more skill based than the other parts, which are complete RNG in my opinion. And I even managed to get as far as the last choke point, the 79% upside down wave transition, which I died to like 4 times that day. But I was genuinely, by that point, after a week of playing, thinking I should be able to beat it, dying over and over again to either awful choke points or a really boring pre-drop. And by the way, the gameplay in between the choke points is actually fine in my opinion. Like, it's quite fun. I also like the song. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of the deco. I don't like 1.9 style Hell Deco. Yes, I know, I said it. But that was part of the reason that I wanted to play Night Terrors, because I, at the time, obviously that's not the case now, wanted Cataclysm to be my first Extreme Demon. And I thought, you know what, Night Terrors has sort of similar gameplay to Cataclysm, and also has a very similar deco style to Cataclysm, so playing it as a second Insane Demon and new hardest might not be such a bad idea to improve my skill set for Cataclysm, so that I don't hate Cataclysm. But the thing is, I just don't like that style of deco, and I think that also added to my experience a bit of not liking it. But yeah, after genuinely spending a week stuck on Night Terrors, thinking I should be able to beat it, dying over and over again to awful choke points, and like, as I said, yeah, the gameplay in between the choke points, it's actually quite fun. It's more skill-based, and it's more fun, and it, like, the gameplay in between the choke points are times where you can sort of sit back and actually enjoy the level. But the thing is that because of the choke points, you never can enjoy the level, because you're either extremely... This happened to me a lot. Whenever I got past the choke point, I would just suddenly get extremely nervous and even die to gameplay that was a lot easier than the choke points, because I was not expecting to get past the choke points. Or I would just, like, lose focus because I just, you know, in my mind, I was just thinking the choke points are the hardest parts. After that, it's free. So I would just lose focus and die to easy gameplay. But to be fair, I didn't die to the filler gameplay, is what I sort of call it, that much. But the filler gameplay itself is more fun. But the reason that my experience was so bad is just because I was dying over and over and over again to the same choke points, dying to a boring pre-drop, and sometimes even dying over and over again late in the level to gameplay that I thought was supposed to be easy, the filler gameplay. And so, dying over and over again, especially getting later in the level to like 79% and dying there, but just consistently dying over and over again, it didn't just ruin my experience, it decimated it. Like, genuinely, that stream I did on Saturday brought me to the lowest point I have ever been in my entire time of Geometry Dash. And while I didn't really seriously consider quitting Geometry Dash, that time there, that stream on Saturday there, especially about an hour and a half in, when I was just dying over and over again and felt like I had no hope of beating the level and was just so fed up of just getting far, dying, and just the level being awful and carried by 4 choke points, that there brought me to my lowest point I've ever been in Geometry Dash. And I actually find it quite funny looking back on it, that the attempt where I beat Night Terrors, I was literally talking about how I wanted to end the stream, which I actually would have done instantly if I hadn't beaten it that attempt. So it was literally the last attempt of the day, which I just think is so funny. But I was also talking about how I was genuinely closer than ever before to quitting Geometry Dash, and how I was so done and at the lowest point. And during the attempt, I was literally saying goodbye and thanking my viewers for watching the stream. So, like, that stream there brought me to the lowest point I've ever been in Geometry Dash. And I'm about to show you the completion in 1 second, but I would just like to say one more thing before I show you the completion. I am, again, sorry if I haven't gone into a lot of detail, or rather, I'm sorry if, like, I haven't fully conveyed why I hate Night Terrors so much. There are 2 reasons for that. First of all, I beat Night Terrors nearly 2 weeks ago, but as I said, the day after I beat Night Terrors, I recorded a whole intro and was just setting up, like, you know, and just presumed that would work, but then the file got corrupted, and so I couldn't use that intro, and now I'm having to record another one 2 weeks later. And I've sort of not forgotten, but I'm not as passionate about it as I was 2 weeks ago. And also, like, I'm also just very tired, and also don't really want to just spend as long recording a whole intro talking about why it was the worst experience ever. And I just sort of don't have the care to do that, to record such a long intro, or the passion. So if I haven't really conveyed to you why, like, Night Terrors was my worst ever experience in Geometry Dash, I'm sorry, but I will just say Night Terrors was by far the worst experience I've ever had in Geometry Dash. Never play Night Terrors. The main reasons are just a quick summary of why I did so bad is because of it's carried by 4 choke points, has boring pre-drop, and in my opinion has bad deco. But if it wasn't for the 4 choke points, in my opinion, it would actually be a good level. But the 4 choke points just bring it down. And when I say choke points, you need to understand those choke points are huge choke points that genuinely are like extreme demon difficulty in the middle of like a relatively easy insane demon. And it just makes it just so bad to play because you know you're probably going to die there, and when you get past them you're so nervous, and it's just genuinely, I can't explain. All I'll say is don't play the level, but like do a practice run and you'll see why it's the worst level ever. But even a practice run doesn't really give you the same sense. But yeah, I can't really fully explain why I hated it so much. All you need to know is that I hate Night Terrors over passion, and also part of the reason why I'm not going into too much detail is because I don't even really want to remember it. I don't even really want to think about Night Terrors. I just want to put it in the past, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to put Night Terrors in the past, and I just know I hate it with a burning passion. It's the worst level I've ever played in my entire life of Geometry Dash. I'm never playing it again. It nearly made me quit. Don't play Night Terrors. It's awful. Oh wait, I've just remembered one other thing that was like a big reason that I hated Night Terrors so much. It's because I had, like, been granted the opportunity to verify an Extreme Demon before I'd beaten Night Terrors, and so that made me want to get it over with even more. But because I literally couldn't beat it, like, I felt like I was stuck being unable to beat it, and that's only ever happened once before with Jawbreaker, which, you know, is also the other time where I recorded the intro before the actual video. Or, no, I did that for Tabasco as well, but that's a different thing. But yeah, I was just so, like, ready and really just wanted to so much play the Extreme Demon and try and verify it. And I just felt stuck, unable to beat Night Terrors. I knew that I wanted to beat Night Terrors before I verified the Extreme Demon, but I genuinely just felt so hopeless and stuck and unable to beat Night Terrors, and that caused me to hate it even more and reach my lowest point ever in Geometry Dash. Anyway, enjoy the completion. It's a very funny one, and it is, like, probably my craziest completion ever, because I was literally the last attempt of the stream and probably the last attempt of the day. And also, if I had quit then, I might have never been motivated to play Night Terrors again, because I was genuinely considering just fully dropping the level at 90, even though my best was 93%. So enjoy the completion. It's a good one. Sorry for yapping for, like, the past 20 minutes, but enjoy. That I have 166 deaths on. Yeah, I'm very close to quitting Geometry Dash. Okay, this is my last attempt, and I don't care. I need to be productive. Whatever happens this attempt, I'm ending stream, and I'm just going to say bye in advance. Thank you genuinely so much for being here. I am sorry that I have never been in a worse mood in my entire life. So I am genuinely just so sorry of how bad of a mood I'm in. And have a good day. Thank you so much for being here. I will hopefully stream later when I, like, am in the correct mood to stream, but right now, I'm doing worse to myself by streaming. So, thank you so much everyone for being here. Can this attempt end, please? Down. Down. I love the song. I know. I'm actually. Yes. Yes. Oh my, no, I'm actually, like, I'm about to cry with happiness. Oh my. Oh my days, I actually can't. It's just, like, actually the worst experience I've ever had. Oh my, I'm actually crying with happiness.